Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to showcase my free-to-play account's raid team, which is currently holding the number 2 spot. I will showcase my main account in a separate video, but I'll do the free-to-play account first because I still have some things to test on my main account. But I think this one is pretty much done, so we can go through it. Alright, so this team is quite funky. There's a lot of very niche units that you probably wouldn't have seen in a raid before. So let's go over the team. In number 1 spot we have Farnese, pretty typical, tank for bosses. Not much to explain there. You've seen it a billion times. Number 2 spot we've got Fleur, and Fleur needs her overlimit. Ideally level 60. 30 is probably doable, but definitely 60 is going to be most ideal. You probably could even run her at rank 0, but you're just mostly using her for the defensive buffs, so you'll lose a lot of damage. Like, the overlimit is mostly there for improving improving the crit damage of your DPS, plus also the support power that you're going to gain from upgrading her overlimit. But she is one of the overlimits that you should focus on if you care about raids anyway, so just keep that in mind. Alright, in the number 3 spot we have Zofia. Now, Zofia actually doesn't need to be here. She only removes a very small amount of mobility at the end of the fight. So you could probably swap this for any other unit you want. I may try like a different unit, but it won't make too much of a difference because this position doesn't really get buffed that much, so no matter what you put in here, it's not going to change too much. And then we have, so actually I'm just explain why she's here. So Zofia is here for the mobility reduction, but it's only going to be a very small amount because most of the stats are going to get reduced by the other units, right? So she is an anti-mobility unit. That's the primary purpose for her to be here. At least a debuffer, I should say. She's a debuffer. Alright, next we have Franca. Franca is the healer, and she also buffs attack and crit rate for Bolina. Right, pretty standard. The heal will keep them alive as well because the boss will do some fixed damage once the boss is low. So that keeps these ones alive. And then number 5 spot we got Anan. So this is one of the first of the newer niche units. So she is useful on this boss because she actually reduces the stats or the defensive stats of the boss. So this is not a very good translation. I don't think it's sort of misleading. Abilities would signify like all these abilities. At least that's how I would interpret it. But it's actually reducing these stats. Alright, so that's what she does. And this is like, so you're trying to remove armor and mobility like with these stats, right? Well, with these this negative, right? And then number 6 we have Lyfa, who does the same debuff as Anan, but with a stronger amount, right? So it's minus 30 on this one, and it stacks together, right? So you'll strip most of the stats on the boss. And then Hank also does the same thing, right? But she does the highest amount, right? 45%. And when you add them all up, it will remove all the armor and then most of the mobility. It will still have about 2.5% mobility and still about 80 something percent of resistance. So that's why Bolina is strong in this fight, because she's an anti-resist unit. Then we got Maybelle. So Maybelle is the best single target buffer, and she's also good because on this boss it does a reflect damage, which is this ability, and it's much stronger against Bolina because Bolina does a multi-attack and therefore it triggers this multiple times. And that's why Maybelle is good, because Maybelle gives a shield. Even though she reduces health similar to Tina, but she makes up for it by putting a shield on the target, and this scales with support power. So it's quite a chunky amount of shield. It's about what, 2.5, maybe close to 3k shield, right? then mobility is nice. I think it helps a bit of damage reduction as well. And then, of course, like she does the continuous recovery, right? So so your DPS won't die to the fixed damage dots. And of course, she buffs a lot of crit damage and all that, similar to Tina, but more so than Tina does. But she does require Overlimit 60 to do, or to outperform Tina, right? You could probably use that at level 30. It will still work, I would say, because she is providing the shield, right? Whereas Tina doesn't provide that. If you use Tina in this team, your Bolina will die. But Maybelle with at least rank 30 Overlimit should be fine. But level 60 will be a bigger boost in damage. So I feel like it probably will clear, but just your score will be a lot lower. Unfortunately, I can't test that because you can't downrank the Overlimit, so it's just my educated guess. So yeah, I guess you have to try it if you have a lower Overlimit Maybelle. And of course, Bolina is here because she's an anti-resistance DPS. If you do not have Bolina, then use Rodnia instead. I will show Rodnia afterwards so you know who it is. And yeah, so basically that's the team. Basically, you're trying to reduce all the stats, right? Because the boss is gonna have 85% armor, 100% mobility. You reduce all that, and then it will have 270% resistance to begin with, but then you reduce it down to about 80, which is manageable. But I mean, it doesn't matter for Bolina. But for other DPS, it might be able to work, but you'll probably eventually just die to the fixed damage. So I don't think. Yeah, I think you kind of need an anti-resistance boss for this team to work. Otherwise, you would have to take out some of these stat reducers because it basically the boss will start doing fixed damage if it's below a certain threshold, right? And then yeah, it's like this stuff. So if it's below a certain ratio on resistance and stuff like that, it will like curse you and it deals a dot on your team. You could probably maybe use a unit that removes dots. I haven't really looked into that, but that's another option. Alright, so I'm going to start the battle and I'm going to slow it down a little bit. So just bear with it. I know it's a lot slower than what we're used to with ×4 now, but ×4 will be a bit too quick for me to explain what's going on. So of course, Farnese is taunting, right? Then we've got buff from Fleur to buff damage reduction, right, and crit damage. And then this is supposed to reduce mobility, but I'm not sure if it works on the first turn. Let me check. Okay, it did work, but it's reduced on the first one. I think it's because the boss dodged it. So maybe I think that might be why I used her, is because lowering the mobility will mean that the following units shouldn't get dodged, and then that will make it easier to land their debuffs. Right, so then the three other tanks will do their stat reductions. I will try to pause it when we get to Bolina's turn. Right, so that's the buff from Maybelle. Alright, now you can see the stats here. So we've reduced all the armor, right? It's got no more. Then the mobility has gone down to 2.5% and res at 81. Now if you check the status, the mobility is gone, or the anti-mobility is gone, but all these these top target things are still here reducing the stats. Normally bosses are immune to this, but on this particular boss it's not immune to these debuffs, so they're still up. So now that lets Bolina do a big chunk of damage, right? And that's why this will be like a 2-round fight. Now some of these supports are going to die, but that's fine because Franca will be able to buff her, do her buff before she dies, and Maybelle's buff lasts 12 turns instead of like the usual 9 for most stuff. And that means it actually lasts long enough for Bolina to still attack with Maybelle's buff at the very end. I'm going to try to pause it again just before Bolina attacks. So now you can see the Maybelle is completely stripped with Zofia's debuff, right? Because now it's still here. It didn't have the half duration from being dodged. So that is, I guess, the main reason why I used Zofia. But I think it probably won't matter too much because the other units, even with half duration, that like it will last long enough for Bolina to get the health reductions, right, from these other tanks. And then on the following turn, the boss will have lower mobility, so it shouldn't have a guaranteed dodge on your debuffs, right? And now it chunks for the rest of the damage. And we get a 1.72 mil hit. And it's pretty consistent. Well, it is just 100% consistent. When I was trying to test some other teams before, there was a lot of variation, right? But with this particular team, there's no variation. Well, pretty much very little. There's like very slight amounts, but it's pretty close. Now this team does work with a rank 4 Bolina, but your score won't be as high. So I'm just going to showcase that real quick. So if you don't know, to downrank a skill, you just click that and then just downrank it here to your desired rank. This can be useful sometimes, like situationally, if you're like overkilling too hard or maybe just one-shotting the boss or something like that, and you need to downrank their abilities to do the overkill. That's something you could do. I think some people did do that on previous bosses, so it might be something good to know. So I'm just gonna go in and just like show a little bit of the fight, and then I'll just skip the rest. So we'll just do a ×4 now. So you'll find that this one, I'll show you like the first round, and then we can skip the rest. So for this rank 4, you'll get it just under half, which is good because with 2 hits, it'll get like almost to the end. But you won't overkill because you remember from the previous fight, the supports like Maybelle and Franca were dying, right? And that was fine because it was a 2-round fight. You see, it chunked most of it, right? Or half, almost half, right? So we're gonna skip here, and then I'll just show the end screen. So it's like just under 1.5 mil. And yeah, the reason is because on the 3rd round, you won't have Franca and Maybelle buffing, right? So you're losing a lot of damage from that. That's why the score is nowhere near as high, even though you're very close to the end of the bar. But it is still a clear. So if you only care about clearing and getting top 100, that is probably good enough for you, because like around 4.5 mil is still like top 20, so you'll be fine with that. And because there's not even 100, there's not 100 people that have cleared hell. So I mean, maybe by the end of it, more people will have reached it, but I doubt there will be 100 that have cleared hell. Now, one more thing just before I go, I will just prove that this is still a free-to-play account. So it is a a doable thing, but you just have to you have to play a long time, right? So I haven't spent anything here, and this is the lifetime one. I haven't spent anything. Now, just real quick, this is Rodnia, so this is the alternative DPS if you don't have Bolina, but she does require skill 5 to get her ignore mobility damage, or sorry, damage reduction damage. This is the resistance one, right? So yeah, you need rank 5 for her, and then her next, I think, where's her next upgrade? Rank 9 is the next upgrade. She does get another damage boost of rank 10 if you want to fully invest. That's sort of up to you, but rank 5 is the minimum that you need. Alright, that is the showcase for my free-to-play account. I hope that's helpful, or at least interesting to see. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you when I do the main account's showcase. Take care. Bye bye, and good luck with your Crusade raid.